So our next panel is going to be great. Got some student power. One aspect of critical importance to Governor Burgum is the voice of our youth. As critical stakeholders in the future of communities and with a uniquely valuable perspective on the resources and opportunities in those communities, Governor Burgum ensures that young people are included in the discussions during Main Street visits throughout the state. So this next main stage session does just that. We will hear from 4 North Dakota students and their personal stories of why our schools and communities need to prioritize the non-academic skills and experiences for all kids. Please help me welcome to the stage Jesse Kraft, Cheyenne Waletzko, Zoe Bundy, and Tristan Orton. I'm going to move a little bit here just so I can see a little bit more. Oh, this is so awesome. I feel so at home with you all welcoming me here on the stage. So, Cheyenne, I'm going to start a little bit with you. You have some unique experiences that I think the audience is going to love. You've kind of done some career exploration. You've found a career path, but kind of in a unique way. So can you tell the audience a little bit more about your career exploration and your kind of learning outside the classroom?
Yes, so I've always wanted to go into the education field for as long as I can remember, but it really jump-started my senior year. I wanted to get more experience in the education field in the classroom to know what it was really like. So I worked with my counselor, and I was able to take part in 3 different semesters of cooperative learning. I went down to the kindergarten classroom and the 1st grade classroom. I was able to earn dual credit college credits through my experience in kindergarten. I would complete assignments and reflect on what was going in the classroom and what I was learning. My last semester of cooperative learning was the one that was most influential for me. I was able to go over to a special education preschool classroom, which was right across the street from our school. And I learned so much from this experience. There was 5 special ed students, and each of them were 1-to-1. So 1 para for 1 student. And most of them were nonverbal, but I learned the most from this experience. I know that I could have gone and found a book and read about what special ed was and how to teach it, but I wouldn't have learned as much as I did from interacting with the students and seeing how the teachers teach kids with special disabilities. I learned so much, and this even inspired me to consider specializing in special education in college. I believe that these cooperative learning experiences really helped me to understand what actually goes on in the classroom. I know that I'm going to learn a bunch at college, but I believe that getting this experience now helped me to understand what the elementary classroom is really like.
That's awesome. Future teacher here. And I've always said, I'm an elementary teacher at heart, but those kindergarten teachers and preschool teachers, man, great work and important work that they do. Okay, so Tristan, we're in your hometown. I believe that you were just here, and now you're going to be going to the high school, right? Freshman in the fall. You talk a lot about student engagement and how really that's so important for really empowering kids to be involved in their learning, to have, interest in their learning. Talk a little bit more about some of the things that you've learned about student engagement and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, so I think student engagement is really important for teachers to incorporate into their lessons, because if a lesson isn't engaging for a student, they're not going to be able to understand the concept as well, and they won't be interested in the class or what the teacher has to say. Where if the teacher does something that makes the class more interesting, like even just a simple game to help them understand the lesson, they'll be able to understand it much better and have more fun in the class.
That's great. So I hear, do you have any specific projects or experiences that you can think of that were like that? I will forever remember this.
Well, I had a student teacher in history this year, and he really liked to bring games into the lesson so that we would understand the lesson better. And one thing that he did, we were doing a Old West unit, and he brought in the Oregon Trail game, kind of, and we did that, and we were asked questions, and we got points based off how good our answers were to the questions, and that was really fun. That kind of let a lot of students understand the lesson way better than they would have if they didn't.
Love it. Learning through some gaming. It's great. So Joey, I'm sorry. I just said Zoe and Jesse, and I combined it with Joey. So sorry about that. Jesse, so the governor got to meet you a couple months ago for the Empowered program. And we were just blown away, not only by your story, but just, I think, the opportunities that Bismarck's providing. But you have a unique journey of how you got there. So tell the audience a little bit about your journey and your awesome father in the audience. Hey, Dad. How he's really inspired you with some of your life skills. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of my dad. He really helped a lot, him and my mom. So we started homeschooling like 2nd grade because my brother got diabetes and it was just really hard to manage. So that put us in that homeschooling environment, and they were like, okay, now what? How do we do this? And so they decided we're gonna focus more on learning and not just busy work. So like, if I know what 1 + 2 is, I know what 1 + 2 is, and I don't have to do it 10 times. And 1 + 2 is 4. So, once we got to like high school and stuff, it was just, it started to get a lot for them, and I was smart, and it was just hard to provide interesting stuff that would not be busy work, that would really grab my interests and stuff. And so I started going to classes at the Career Academy. I went to Innovation Pathway in my senior year, but in my freshman year, I went to Applied Mechanics, and so I got to learn to weld and wire and plumb and land survey and small engine repair, and all of these things are applicable to life skills. And so thank you to my dad for training me in 4 core values that I think are very necessary to flourish in like a career. Is you need work ethic, initiative, punctuality, and respect. Without those 4 things, you're gonna not, it's not gonna work out for you, okay? But using those 4 things and then having those drilled into me at a young age, it really made me like flourish in that environment where I could learn what I wanted to learn. And it gave me that drive to like seek out things that even if I didn't think they were possible. So one of those things is, when I learned to wire, I did really good at it, and I enjoyed it a lot, and it makes a lot of money. So I'm like, maybe I can pursue this. And so we nagged this one teacher, shout out to Mr. Schumacher, you are literally the greatest, until we could, have some sort of program where I could be like an apprentice and get a credit for it, which then just kind of opens the door for them to just straight up hire me as an electrician. And so because of that, I'm hired pretty soon here. I just got to do some paperwork for Rafter Electric. So just this whole experience has really just set me up for success. But it all goes back to those core 4 values. Without those, I wouldn't have been able to have that drive to seek out the things that might not have been possible otherwise.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. This is so great. Okay, so Zoe, you have talked a lot about, you're on Superintendent Bazer's student cabinet, and you've talked a lot about advocacy, you know, informing people about what's going on in the world, being an informed citizen, which is really important right now. Talk a little bit about those experiences and how you've brought that back to your school and your community.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest gifts that Student Cabinet has given me is an increased awareness for what's going on in the state of North Dakota at the legislative level, working with teachers, working with students, and solving problems that all of us are experiencing around the state. One of the things that I've really enjoyed is connecting with different students, Tristan and Cheyenne, and hearing, you know, 500 miles away, this is how their school is handling different problems, and in Fargo we handle it differently, but seeing that we have similar issues, and then also hearing from Superintendent Baszler, hearing from people that champion the bills that are being written, and then going back to school the next day and saying, hey, history teacher, did you know this is in the works right now? Did you, to my psychology teacher, have you heard about this? And just bringing my teachers up to date on what's going on, because they may not have the time to sit down and scroll through everything from the legislative session, trying to pick out some of those important things that they should be paying attention to. So I've just really enjoyed having the conversations with our student cabinet and hearing what's going on in their schools, and then bringing them home and advocating for school counselors, our principals, any problems that we're facing at our school as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you lead by example too, because we all need to make sure that we're informing ourselves, because those things do impact schools, our kids, our communities. We might not always realize it right then, but they do. So thank you for that. Cheyenne, you completed a capstone project. Some in our audience probably know what that is, many don't. Can you kind of explain what a capstone project is, and then a little bit about the process to really achieve that? It's a great achievement, and what that's kind of doing for you for future career.
Yes, so at Lisbon, we were required as seniors to complete a capstone project for our final. We were required to build a resume and then highlight 3 strengths that are going to prepare us for the next chapter of our lives, whether it's the workforce or college or the military. So for me, going into education, I highlighted my 3 strengths as leadership, creativity, and insight. And then I was required to provide 2 artifacts for each strength. And then I put together a portfolio, and I met with a panel of 3 judges. So my English teacher and then 2 community leaders. And it was basically an interview style type of presentation. I had to prove why I was prepared for my next step. And I think that this was super cool for real life skills, because we're all going to have to do an interview one day. We're all going to have to defend why we are good enough for our next step. And I think it really applied to every single student in my class. For me, someone who is very academically driven, I was able to highlight different things that I'd done in school. But for someone who's in the ag field or the health field, they were able to take a picture of a machine that they've fixed, or a picture of them working at a nursing home. And I think it's important because every student has a different type of success, and every student needs to prepare for their future in different ways. So I believe that this capstone project really highlighted everything that we've done through high school to prepare us for our futures.
Wow. That's a great synopsis, and I think that that's just a beautiful picture of how you're almost getting to kind of culminate your K-12 career and share your story. I think that's just beautiful. Tristan, I'm going to jump to you. You are also on Superintendent Baszler's cabinet, and you talked a little bit, when you and I met, about some of the things that it's taught you, or some of the skills that you feel like you've grown in. So do you want to talk a little bit about just being part of that group and what it's kind of taught you as a person?
Yeah, so that group has been really fun since I've been on it since like 4th grade, and it's been I've really enjoyed it. But I think a lot of the skills that I've learned from it are leadership and cooperation, learning how to deal with others and listen to them and figure out the best possible solution. Like, I remember one time this year I was working with a partner, and he was not easy to work with. He was quiet. He didn't like to talk to people. He kind of just liked to sit in the back of the class and just watch. And I was able to work with him and get the project done anyways. And I think that's what student cabinet has taught me.
That's awesome. And I think, this is exactly why some of these life skills and these experiences for kids to be on, like, Superintendent Baszler's cabinet is just, those are things that you will carry no matter where you are. And I think that's just such a beautiful picture. Heading to you, Jesse. So there is a community project that you're working on. Talk to us a little bit about this community project, how you basically kickstarted this thing, and a little bit about your partnership with Lincoln, City of Lincoln.
Okay, so the innovation pathway, which is now empowered for the Bismarck Career Academy, is I don't want to say it's the first of its kind, but it's really entrepreneuring in its area. And so this class was basing it around, like, instead of having to work a certain amount of hours on something, you just have to know it. So like I said with the whole homeschool thing, like, once I knew something and they knew I knew something, we move on. And once we knew all of those things, we're done with the class. I got done with my my economics class 8 weeks early. Like, I just had that extra time to do my final for writing. But back to the community project, the way that this is, like, prospers is because it relies on us doing community projects and, like, going into our community and helping solve problems in our community. And the way we get credits for that is, like, so in English, we have speaking and listening credits, right? So that I can talk to someone, hear what they're saying, take feedback, and apply that feedback. And so we all got, like, a bunch of community projects to pick from, and, you know, they weren't that interesting to me. And I go, hey, can I remodel the Frisbee golf course at Lincoln? Because, you know, I love Frisbee golf. I win tournaments, and it's just interesting to me. And they're like, sure, go ahead. Call the city of Lincoln, see if they'll let you. And we called, and they were like, yeah, we've been meaning to do it. We just haven't had the time. And so we got a budget, and we walked through the course with him, proposed a new course, and yada, yada. And that gave us a standard, but it solved a problem in the community. And it also was really fun for me, and it was something I was very interested in. And so having all of those things work together instead of, like, pull against each other is really what we're trying to, like create with the innovation pathway and the Career Academy.
That's perfectly told, and I think now we're all going to be curious to go play Frisbee golf at Jesse's new...
It's not done. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, but you can let us know when it's done. Yeah.
There'll be a poster with a tournament that I'll hold, and then y'all can just come to that.
Yeah, you just send me the link.
Grand
I'll share it out.
opening.
Yeah, that sounds great. So Zoe, I'm going to kind of have you wrap up here just a little bit. You have talked about flexibility, and flexibility really being a key aspect of, you know, student agency and autonomy, and how that can drive learning and really empowerment. Talk a little bit more about that, and what, you know, you have a very captive audience here who wants to hear about how they could think about that to influence their schools.
Yeah, so I think one of the other gifts that the pandemic has provided has been flexibility, and it's learning flexibility, teaching flexibility, and then for students, learning how to be adaptable and working with online platforms in person, things like that. And I just think that when, you know, as the pandemic went on, we did have to learn how to be flexible. And one of the cool projects that I just found right before 2020, so before the pandemic hit, was I was interested in career development, interested in different jobs, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I made a goal in 2020 to do 20 job shadows. It could be any field, any person, any leader, and it ended up being a really cool experience, job shadowing a 911 dispatcher on New Year's Eve of 2020, just kicking it off strong. And then learning, though, empathy, communication, collaboration, then going to a bank and learning their different fields. I job shadowed President Dean Brashani at NDSU, President Blackhurst at MSUM, and just getting experience in those real-world settings where all of those skills for Choice Ready really come into play. And so for flexibility, just working with my teachers and working to find assignments that I could still get done even when I was outside of the classroom, and being able to share some of those experiences with my classmates, that was such a gift. And just to be able to, to have flexible classrooms that would allow me to take time away from a math class to go job shadow somebody or learn outside of the classroom. If you have assignments that you can give your students and work with them to be flexible, there are some really valuable experiences outside of the classroom that can teach those choice-ready skills as well.
Wow. Powerhouse right here, right? So I didn't really prep you for this one, but just on the fly, like a 10-second, 5-word little snippet, what would you say? Again, you've got this captive audience, lots of educators in here, and community leaders, policymakers. What's one little short thing you'd like to say about school, learning, engagement, flexibility? One thing. You guys can pick who goes first.
I can go. I would just say to meet every student where they are. That's really the fundamental core of what education is. Not every student is the same. Every student learns differently. They're all not going to learn by the book. And when you meet every student where they are, that's when every student is going to find success. And you as a teacher, you as an educator or an administrator will find success too.
Beautiful.
Nobody's going to learn unless they're taught how to learn.
Learn how to learn. Love it.
I would say just remember that you do have influence. That was kind of a big thing for me this year, just realizing the impact that you can have and the voices as teachers that you can have in your students' lives, the voices that you have to the legislature, and for legislators, the voices that you can have to impact change around the state. So you have influence, use it wisely, and be bold, take risks, have fun.
I would say just like be there for your students, like let them know that you understand them and just try to help them when you can.
Perfect. Let's give a round of applause for our student panel. I knew you, no, not yet. You're fine. Some of these students will be hanging around, so if you want to kind of pick their brain a little bit, I'm sure that they'd love to talk more. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And so thank you for sharing your wisdom, experiences that this is why we're here. This is why we're a part of transformative change. That's why Governor Burgum is so passionate, is because students like this that are sharing their stories, we can do this. So thank you so much. Oh, yeah. Let's pull the quick photo op.
Lights down, center
Yep.
stage. You can leave the chairs.
Okay, I'll take these. Oh, okay. I'll go on this side, Jesse. Photo op. Thank you.